Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our interview with the Witches series tonight. Here with Triple Chalice Tarot, I am your host, Aluna, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Sarupta Shaw.
Good evening, everyone.
And we have a returning special guest. She's been with us before. Girl, it's been a few months.
Hello.
The last time you were with us was in June, right? June of
I think so, yeah.
Oh,
so
my
exciting.
Goodness. Look how the months are flying by, right?
The summer left so quickly.
I know. So I guess let's jump into my first little question, girl. So since the last time we spoke, how would you say your magic or your spiritual growth, how's that been transitioning? Have you been noticing growth? Have you been just finding
to be honest,
new place?
To be honest, I feel a little stagnant. I feel growth for everyone else, but for me, I feel in the same place, only because I've been working on ancestor work and finding myself out deeper and deeper so that I can be able to help other people and become more contagious. And that's the only reason why I feel stagnant, because I'm still working on ancestor works and connecting with other deities and spirits and so on and so forth. There's nothing new so far, I guess.
Oh, okay, but that's totally okay. I mean, we all, and right now we're in Mercury retrograde, so we all need to be taking a step back and just revisiting sense of introspection, deeper inner workings, you know what I'm saying? Just less out there, more internal. So that's good. I mean, as long as you're making some progress. So that was my first question.
So I want to ask you, as far as like the ancestor work, so I mean, what have you been, learning from them? I mean, so you're saying that as far as ancestor work, can it get like monotonous, like kind of doing the same thing, like?
It can be, and that's what I'm learning not to do. I did a video on my YouTube channel not so long ago. I don't even remember the name of the video, but I was talking about like connecting with other realms. Like when people in like the Loas or in Santeria, they connect to, I was specifically speaking about Santa Marta or Mama Chumbi. That's what they call her. I've always had a connection with her. She's always been around. Even when my mom was pregnant, she would know and do certain things that she knew it was her presence. So there's certain things that she's been showing me, even though I don't have like an altar in my house for her, because her energy is just too much. So what I have is like, I have a tree where I give her offerings, and that tree is where I connect with her. But as far as ancestor work is concerned, that's what I've been learning. I've been learning to connect to other deities, other realms, and give them offerings in different ways. Usually I just have my ancestor altar, and I just feed them in that way. But I don't want to just feed my own tree anymore. I want to feed the multi-dimensional trees that we have. I feel like that we all have. And that's what I've been experiencing lately.
But that right there is very powerful. I mean, so it's really, I don't feel like it's stagnant because most people are now working with multiple dimensions and multiple deities and things like that. So you're doing a lot of advanced magical workings, I feel. And I also want you to talk about not necessarily having to have an altar when you're working with these spirits, especially the Santeria or Voodoo ones, because, you hear a lot that you have to have an altar. You have to, have like something set up for these spirits. But that's not the case always. Yeah,
but that's not the case at all. I mean, I don't want to disrespect anybody because I know people pay a lot of money and they invest so much in trying to get the information and getting baptized. I'm not baptized at all. I literally just, I guess it's easier for me because I've always been connected. I don't know how it would be for other people, but what I've been learning is that number one, you are the altar. Like your DNA is the altar. You're already here. That's number one. That's why, most of the time when you want to connect to these deities, they ask for DNA. They ask for blood, whether it be from a chicken or you. They ask for DNA because they want to know if you're in their frequency already. They want to feel you. They want to know you. They want to see your loyalty as far as your tree is concerned. That's number one. And number two, I've realized that giving them altars within Gaia makes me more connected to Goddess, as opposed to just giving them an altar in my environment or in my space, in my home, where I'm in a apartment complex and I'm not really connected to the earth. And so that
Right.
grounds me even more. I can hear them more. I hear their calling even more. And then third, what I've been learning about having altars outside is that it's not just being connected to your ancestors, the people in your tree of life or in your family tree, but it's more of like the spirits. Like I've been getting calls from, I think her name is Baz or Bast. I think people call her by, she's like a human Egyptian goddess. And
yes.
She's been coming up a lot, but that's because I've been exploring these things a lot. And it's not because I want to work with her 24/7, but the fact that I'm honoring her gives her access to this realm and vice versa. And I think that's what people miss from ancestor working. They feel like it's the human aspect. Oh, the veil is thinner. Oh, we should connect to the human aspect of ancestor work as opposed to the spiritual aspect of ancestor work.
Right. I so love that you speak on that, because I totally felt the same way just in my sort of multi-diverse workings with the spirit realm. You know, I do pay homage to my ancestors, and I do have workings with them personally, but I'm more about exploring such a more broader spectrum. And it was so interesting that you brought up Bass, because, you know, I have personally worked or have been working with the goddess Sekhmet, and she's been working through me. Now, another thing, and I want to ask you this, because there's this sort of trend that I noticed going on within the spiritual community, and I want to ask your per se on it. So I noticed, like, a lot of times people, when they do their personal sacred workings, like working with the entity or working with a spirit or connecting with their ancestors, a lot of times they feel the need to share that experience with everyone else. And I kind of feel vulnerable in doing that. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, for me to put
Do you mean like the workings, like the actual pictures of the workings, or like videos talking about workings?
No, I'm totally. How about you?
Yeah, I understand I understand what's happening, and it's one of those things that I've been having problems with as well, because a year ago I was not sending pictures to clients of the workings that have been going on, but I feel like with my ancestor working and the information that's coming through, it's more of people should need to get away from like the marketing aspect of showing that information, as opposed to just having an individual connection with the individual you're doing the workings for. If it's for a client, if it's for yourself, and as a person such as myself and you guys, we are basically, we're not hiding behind closed doors. I mean, you could say we're like celebrities of some sort. You know what I'm saying? We're not people. Yeah, like public figures. People kind of know us, and they want to know what we work with, and so therefore we put ourselves in a different light and perspective. But I don't think it should be used for marketing per se. I think it should just be used for the individual you're doing the working for. And if you're doing a video, I think you should speak about it and like show the actual items that you're using, but not the actual workings that are happening. Because when you're interacting, even though it's behind a camera, you're still interacting. People will still mess around with the energy if they know how to do so, if they're that way.
Yes. I definitely was resonating more with that. And I know you speak on more of a client. Now me personally, you know, if you do some working for a client, that's shared information between two consenting adults. But I mean, like, on the broader spectrum of sharing your ritual workings and your altars, like on social media. How do you feel about that? Is it the same?
I would never show my altar, because those are my portals, like the altars, the bowls that I have. I would never show like the exact tree or trees actually that I leave these offerings for them, or that I bury certain things, because I do like make sure that whatever I'm burying is under a tree so that the roots can penetrate my workings, and so it's always alive. But as far as like me taking a picture of that, I'm not going to do that, because that's a portal and that's ongoing work. And that's why a lot of these workings nowadays are not really working, and people are not really being self-sufficient. They're always going the person that's actually working for them, and then ends up not working for the person that's actually working for them, like the witch or the practitioner, because they're not it's too public. There's no limit. Yeah, I wouldn't do the altars, and I wouldn't show the picture on my Instagram of what I'm doing for a client. Mm-hmm. Even though some people, like the newbie witches, some really new witches, they benefit off of that. They don't have any malice, and they're not after anybody or anybody's business. They benefit because then it's a visualization, so they see like it should look like. But then again, it's also bad. I'm like, it's iffy. It's a problem because I don't know. It's like borderline yes and no, because then they know how to tap into their own creation. They don't really know how to create.
I'm very much for that too. You know, like creative expression and just putting out your content, like producing, honey. You know, if you got the setup, it's cute. But, you know, I just feel like it kind of goes overboard past the TMI spectrum sometimes. But to each his own, definitely to each his own. So I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I would never.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I have a similar, something on the same vein as this that I wanted to ask you, and it's pertaining to people in the spiritual community being inspired by your work and you noticing people kind of emulating your work. Do you get offended by, let's say, somebody kind of doing something similar that you did? Like, let's say you posted or you took a picture of some type of setting or some type of cards or something, and then you see somebody else, you know, kind of do something similar or inspired by you. You know, do you get offended by that? How do you feel about people, I don't want to say copying, but copying your work,
similar
working. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I don't get offended at all because they have to start off somewhere. The teacher was also a student. Like I was somebody's student. I am the student of life. Life teaches me. The universe teaches me. And one day I will go back to the universe and vibrate off the creator energy. But it's not. It doesn't bother me at all, actually. Like, if I see somebody purchasing the same cards or, like, using my hashtags or making, like, similar videos or whatever it is I'm doing or, like, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's people feel your energy. The energy is what's different. Right. People know, like, when you are giving a good reading or when you're on a specific frequency, even if they don't understand it, they still see your light. They still see your individuality. So even if it's similar, it doesn't bother me.
Because, you know, I've noticed a lot of people, they get offended. Like some spiritual workers, they go on complete tangents and even probably even claim to attack these people who are you know, imitating them. And you know what the saying is, imitation is the best form of flattery.
Hold on. Taruk.
Yes.
So and you seem like you have a story behind all this. Why don't you share it?
Well, I mean, recently, I think it's a little bit, I don't want to say no names of people that I've seen being offended and, you know, making posts and saying, you know, these people are copying me or all of this. But I recently, I was on my Instagram and I see one of my videos on my newsfeed, and I'm like, it's so weird that my video is on the newsfeed. Usually, you know, your own stuff is not there. So when I click on it, this person, they took like 10 of my videos on this psychic hotline website, and they had my videos there. You know, and they were advertising their own psychic hotline or whatever, and mind you, they had over 1,000 followers. I only have like 130 something right now. This person had over 1,000
but
my videos.
That's straight up plagiarism because it's your exact, like you can sue them for that. Like you can put a claim for that. That's like little things like that where witches need to like get to know. Like I don't know if I mentioned, but I'm a paralegal. Like during the day and at night I'm a witch. Okay. So it's like things like that. You can definitely put a claim against them, and like figure out like what jurisdiction you can set up the claim for because it's your content and it came from your page. And these people, it's like certain companies and that feed off our information, like surveys. People, the government, certain places, certain companies, they give us surveys, and the information they get is how they produce their products, which is straight up plagiarism because they're getting the money and the idea from the little people. But you know, it's different for you because you can definitely put a claim. That's different. But if it's just like, let's say like a similar picture with like similar cards, then that's just them copying and wanting to be like you or being inspired by you. But that's not an inspiration. That's straight up like stealing your content.
Definitely.
So you should definitely look up to see like how you can set up a claim against them, especially the psychic hotline, because they're always fidgeting and looking for people to work for them. And this is not the first time I hear about that, actually, with the psychic hotline.
So crazy. I think the best thing you could possibly do is put your name, like I used to kind of put my name off on all my content. I should get back to doing that. But definitely like for your videos to put your name on somewhere in there.
I guess. Yeah, that would be a good idea as well. But try to see if you can like have them remove your content from their website, because they're making money and networking off your energy. That's stealing energy as well. Like in a metaphysical perspective or in a spiritual perspective, that's stealing your energy because you put that energy into that video. You typing in information, downloading the video. It's technology. They're taking that and feeding off of you. That's no good.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, you should definitely look into that.
I definitely will.
Yeah, that's messed
so
up.
Whose question? Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay, so now I wanted to ask you about your reading style. Well, first of all, how many decks do you have? If you're just tuning into us and you don't know Marcus from Venus on Instagram, you're the deck master.
Love it.
You have
my gosh. Right now, to be honest, the last time I counted, it was like a little bit over 100. So right now I should be, you know what it is because it's not just the decks, it's like the artwork on the deck, and I get bored. I don't like to be stagnant. I don't like to be stagnant. I like to appreciate other people's creation. I like to like infiltrate myself with other people's creation. The fact that somebody took their time to create such creations and they're amazing and they can give off so much good energy is like amazing to me. So I appreciate that, you know? But I do. I have over 120, for sure.
Wow, amazing.
Well, you got us beat. You definitely got us beat combined. So,
yes, definitely.
So where did you? Well, you live in New York, so I'm guessing there's a huge traffic for tarot decks.
We have a lot of metaphysical shops here, especially in other boroughs, like outside of Manhattan. We do have more metaphysical shops now. The main one that I like to go to is Namaste Bookshop, but here in New York, we also have like Barnes and Nobles. Yeah, we have Barnes and Nobles. We have the Strand, and they sell cards, and they have like metaphysical sections as well, and they sell crystals. Even at Barnes and Nobles, sometimes you can find like little boxes full of crystals.
Really? Are you serious?
Sometimes you can find them. Like they'll sell little boxes full of like regular gemstones, like rose quartz, clear quartz. What? But you'll find them. And at the Strand as well.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think Florida is not like that at all. They're very traditional, very traditional. Yeah. But there are, like in the how would you say, in the more tropical areas, like, Miami definitely for sure has more botanicas and shops and stuff like that. But Barnes and Noble's carrying crystals, like, that's definitely on point.
Yeah, and they have like oh my gosh, what is those salt lamps? Oh, I can't recall the name, but they have those. I don't know if you guys ever seen those salt lamps that they're like lamps, but they have like a crystal cover. They sell those as well. I can't remember the name, but
I'm kind of getting the visual in my head. It sounds like it looks cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just different, but I guess it's different. I mean, the botanicas in the hood, you should say, or like in the Spanish botanicas, they usually don't sell as much tarot cards as everybody else because in our community, in our Hispanic community, we use mostly like playing cards and the Rider-Waite Smith, but they don't have like a whole variety of tarot cards as opposed to like Namaste would have. So it's a different culture, I guess. It's just different.
Definitely.
And you know, I wanted to ask you a question about the culture, because I've noticed, especially on social media, in New York, you know, the youth, the young Latinos, the young, you know, African descent, Hispanic people are reclaiming their African spirituality. I've noticed a lot of young people on social media posting, you know, pictures of their altars, you know, of, you know, their you know, things to the saints and things like that. So, I mean, have you noticed that too, like a resurgence of African spirituality in the youth and the young people?
Yes, more of our youth they're asking questions. They're not about to sit around and take the whole, this is the Bible and this is what you have to, this is what it is the way, the only way. They're asking questions, and a lot of them are coming from the churches, actually. And they sit, you'll find them at like Barnes and Nobles, and they just sit and like read these books and ask many questions. Even on social media, people DM me all the time. And in New York, before there was such a resurgence of spirituality, people would just like talk behind closed doors. It's more of like a word of mouth. So people would know that you're a witch because people would know you in your hood. People wouldn't go on Etsy to find a witch or to find a practitioner. That wasn't something that they knew to do. But the younger community, they're actually very involved in the social media and spirituality.
And learning,
definitely, most definitely. Like in the past 2 years, it's been crazy.
Yeah, I've noticed it a lot. People that I didn't even realize I'm following on Facebook, they're taking pictures, and you know, you see the beads. I definitely noticed it with the beads, like the necklaces. I always ask, like when I see a person, it's so funny. Like I had a plumber come to my house, and he had the beads, and I was like, are you? And he had a whole story behind it. I was like, wow, you know, he was surprised that I noticed the beads, what it meant. So it's crazy.
Because people here also, like, especially, I live in Washington Heights, but especially like in my community, Spanish Harlem, like New York City, 5 boroughs, people that have the beads aren't always practicing per se. They usually get them as they go and they get the consultation, and they're like, okay, you're a son of or you're a daughter of whoever, and you should honor them by wearing the beads. And especially with like drug dealers or people that are in the streets all the time, they go to these saints and they go to the practitioners for protection, to protect them in the streets. So they're not afraid to wear their beads anymore. We're not afraid anymore, not even cops, like they wear them under their uniform or whatever. People aren't afraid.
Well, I want to ask you, that's a very interesting subject you brought up, and to elaborate that on a little bit, do you think more and more people in different occupational fields are hiring, because it's like you spoke about the dealer on the street and people on the street hiring practitioners to keep them safe. Do you think like the police might have an organization of tarot readers or card readers? Do you think, you know, cause that's
they do actually.
Chilling with, you know, I see a lot of celebrities lately chilling with, you know, psychics and mediums and readers and stuff like that. So do you think it's becoming more mainstream?
It's because it's the information age. It's not that they weren't doing it before and that people just decide to call like, oh my gosh, it's like Illuminati or whatever, but it's not really, it's just us manifesting. It's just individuals. Like artists are not involved for the most part in anything that has to do with those people or those magicians. They're mostly manifesting on their own, and people don't understand that. And for the most part, like most Hispanics already go into, before they become rich and famous, they're already practicing their culture because that's where we come from. That's the most Hispanic people, like Cubans, Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, most people in the Caribbean, Brazil, South America, Middle America, that's what we come from, you know. We practice Lukumi, we practice Santeria, we practice all of that, you know. And I feel like people are just not being afraid to hide behind their Bibles anymore. And as far as the police is concerned, they do, especially like in the Hispanic community. I know like not all police officers are like big and bad or like mean or out to get us. There are people within our own culture that belong to the force, and they form their own cliques, and they know where to go. And they're a part of their own organizations or their own Santeria or Ifa houses, you know? And so they know to protect their own kind.
Yeah. And they probably, have the spirits like maybe Ogun or some type of, masculine, authoritative, deity that they, so that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Now I wanted to ask you a question because me and Aluna, we spoke about this a few days ago about the concept of the Christian witch. Now, do you believe that you can be a Christian and a witch at the same time? Does that concept resonate with you?
Yes, because people perhaps don't want to realize that what they or this entity they like to call Jesus was doing was metaphysical. It was spiritual. He must have been some type of entity, or he must have been some type of warlock. Especially me, I work with Mary Magdalene. They practice like certain tantras and rites. I think the reality of how people see this Jesus figure and his face and everything that has to do with him is slowly coming to the surface, that it's just not reality. But for you to be able to like part the seas and do certain things and like talk about archangels, that is the metaphysical. That means you're working with extraterrestrials. So yes, I believe you can be a Christian witch. And for the most part, who the practitioners, we use the Bible. Like Psalms, it's full of spells. Perhaps maybe they don't like to call themselves Christian witches because in some parts of the Bible they're like, oh, you shouldn't use sorcery, et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, what's being done throughout the entire book, New and Old Testament, is sorcery. It's just their God says don't practice it because I'm the only one that can practice it. So.
And maybe, in the Bible they're saying, maybe they're kind of preventing people who may abuse it from using it. Maybe that's why they're saying like, oh, don't do this. It's to kind of like prevent the people who would abuse it or the ones that wouldn't know how to use it correctly, as a way to like only the only certain kind.
A form of protection.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a form of protection. I think it's all about how people interpret the Bible. Because if you were a follower of this Jesus entity, or who people like to call the Christ, I don't like to call him that because it's like that, like Jesus, the name Jesus is a different frequency. So Rabboni Yeshua is better for me, so I'm gonna just call him Yeshua. So you guys know who I'm talking about, or the Christ, same entity. But if you were a follower of him and you were actually reading between the lines, he wouldn't give out information to everyone. That's why he would always say, or in the books, even in the agnostic text, he would say like, I don't remember the exact words, but he would say like, they don't understand me, so I have to speak to you in parables, something like that, something along those lines. He would speak to them in parables because not everyone.
Time. Right.
Yeah, because it's not for everyone. It's not for everyone, and yeah, if you can sit here and tell me that you were being impregnated by Archangel Gabriel and you were speaking to archangels, that means we can definitely sit here and talk about metaphysics forever. Because that's what they are. And they can't say, oh, well, the Goetic entities, well, King Solomon had the keys, and who gave him the keys? Archangel Michael. Sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not everybody's meant to be woke. And I think that people that are woke need to realize that. Not everybody's meant to be woke, and they need to understand that. If you don't know that, and you don't know how to lead those that are not supposed to be woke, and that are supposed to be behind you, then you shouldn't be woke. That's what it is, and I think people are realizing that.
I definitely agree with that because, there is this full-on and I think the term woke, right? It comes with this new found conformity to once again adhere to the standards of what this person holds ideal as woke, you know what I'm saying? To be consciously, I don't know, like outlandish, just kind of obnoxious.
Over the
I don't
top.
know what, over the top, and it's so unnecessary. It's definitely unnecessary. It's like with this whole like,
I'm better than you attitude.
I wanted to talk to you about, do you feel that there's a segregation in the spiritual community? Because I always found it like a little odd that people come to spirituality and oneness and openness and connection with the source, the goddess, the male figure, the father figure, whatever you want to call it, but still have prejudices in their heart. You know what I'm saying? So what do you think about, do you think a lot of people just hide behind this term spiritual because it makes them seem, quote unquote, woke?
Yeah, I think they do. And I think for the most part, most of us, and I'm going to include myself in it because I will never know everything. That's ridiculous, and nor do I want to know everything. But it's like they don't understand that they're still in human form, and so therefore you will have that limit, period. Because whatever you have to do in the spiritual body has to be done when you are not in your human form. That's number one. Number two, most people that are in this spiritual realm or in spirituality or outside of religion, they're not really mystics because they conform to segregation. Like it is segregated. Like most people that are under like Santeria, you speak to them and you're not baptized, they look at you like, oh, you can't possibly be in my same frequency because I paid money for this. Like I've had issues like that on my YouTube and they're like, oh, you can't really be like, no, little girl. Yes, we can. The spirits are not dumb. The spirits are not limit. They don't have them. They're not touching your money. Your godmother and your godfather are touching the money. Okay, the spirits are not touching the money. That's number one. Like it's just there is a lot of segregation and other like light workers. They don't really want to mess with witches or they don't call themselves witches. But yet you can call on the law of attraction or you can call on the universal laws and manifest things for you. So therefore, we're all doing the same thing. And I think that. People in the spiritual community, they fail to realize that if you are manipulating energy, whether you want to put yourself in a certain category or not, the fact of the matter is that you should consider yourself a mystic. You shouldn't be seeing the limits between this person's spiritual path and path and the other. Because that means you're not in oneness. That means you should stay in church and stay there.
Yes.
Perhaps. Maybe you aren't meant to be woke. So.
Okay, well, we're at 30 minutes now, so I wanted to ask you, do you have your cards with you? Would you like to give us a... Yes, come through. Okay, would you be kind enough to give us a reading tonight, girl? See what the spirits, the ancestors have to say.
Yes. I'm going to choose a card from the Guardians of Wisdom only because I used it today, and so it already has that energy. I feel like I'm gonna.
I have some good news too.
Oh, why?
Okay. So you remember Black Onyx? Now we all can.
Oh my God! When is her deck coming over? Like what? I already picked that one card, but go ahead.
But she's gonna be on our show. She's going
to
show, advertising the deck. I cannot wait. She said she's having a pre-order, so you can pre-order the deck. Yes, this month, I believe the 12th or the 14th. The 14th.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I can't wait.
We definitely have to shout her out because that deck is gorgeous,
amazing,
beautiful, melanated.
Yes. All right, guys. So I'll be looking forward to that. I cannot wait to do my first little 60-second first impressions because you know me,
Yes.
Okay, so I'm getting the feeling to just pull one card, and again, I'm using the Guardians of Wisdom Universal Power cards, and they're illustrated by Emmy Ledbetter, and the author is Todd Hershey. I did a 60-second first impressions for anybody who's interested. And the card that came out was number 11. It's called the Universal Guardians, Psychic Awareness. You're not giving enough attention to your intuitive powers. So this lets us know that when we hear the small voice is a small voice that we have to listen to. It's not the louder voice. The louder voice is all your egos and all the rest of the things you might have going on in your head. It's a smaller voice. Small voice outside of your head. It's actually within your solar plexus. That's where your intuition comes from, and that's where we need to be navigating from. So if the energies are saying don't push forward, then we shouldn't push forward. If they're saying push back, then we should push back and not question our intuition, actually. Because if you question your intuition, you create doubt and fear. That's what I'm getting. Ta-ta!
Beautiful. So what do you think about that, Taru?
It's absolute truth. It definitely is true. You know, you have to listen to that inner voice. That's the universe. That's a direct line to source, to God. I mean, whatever you want to call it. That's like, I think that's what our spirit is. I think when our body is gone, that voice is what's left, I feel, you know? That is what's going to carry
Pretty
on
much.
to the eternal. So, yeah, definitely got to listen to that.
So exciting.
Well, thank you so much, Venus, for being with us again tonight. And why don't you tell her, girl, because I have a hard time with that screen name. So why don't you tell everyone listening where they can find you? Tell them your YouTube. Tell them your Instagram.
So my Instagram is 13MFV9 on my Instagram. You guys can check out all my 60-second first impressions. I do little videos here and there. My YouTube name is Messages from Venus. My Etsy is Messages from Venus as well, without spaces between the words. And I'm also doing 5% off all items on my shop this month. The coupon code is in each video that I made. For all the monthly videos, you guys can go check it out. It's Oshun 5 Yem 7 in honor of Oshun. And of course, Yemaya is where her feast day just passed as well, which is September 7th. So, there you go.
Very nice. Okay, so Taruk, is there anything else?
Well, I mean, that's pretty much it. I guess we'll see you guys on the next one.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
No
good
problem.
Night.
Nice to have you. Have a good night.
Bye.